Almost 3,000 kilometers separate Cairo and Tehran, and to travel between them is to find a Middle East region emerging from a summer of reckoning, grappling with ongoing conflict. In Egypt, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi is striving to restore order after the years of post-Arab Spring instability. In an effort to restore stability, the country's oldest Islamist movement has been banned, designated a terrorist organization by the former general. Importantly, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates and other Gulf Arab countries have thrown their weight behind Egypt's new president. They see the Muslim Brotherhood as an existential threat to their monarchies, pitting them against Gulf neighbour Qatar and non-Arab Islamic power Turkey, who have offered safe haven to the Brotherhood's leadership. You still have the Palestinian-Israeli crisis, with no sign of any permanent settlement to a conflict that many say provides the oxygen for extremist Islamic terror movements across the region. Witness the sectarian Syrian civil war across the border, and now the rise of ISIS, and a newly invigorated US policy in Iraq and Syria to combat that threat. Shifting alliances, shifting sands, akin to a game of Risk, if you will. Regular contributor Faisal Al Yafai joining me at the board to explain the oft-times competing strategies and diplomacy at play. Let's start with the emergence of ISIS as a new player in all of this.
So look at the map of the Middle East, the map cut across by borders that were formed years ago and have held for decades. Into this complicated geography comes the Islamic State, or ISIS, right there in the middle between Syria and Iraq, recognizing no borders, declaring itself a caliphate and murdering people on both sides.
Extremist violence we have seen from this group. Enter the United States and what they hope will be a coalition of the willing regionally. Who is willing here?
So the United States planes are already in the air over Iraq, but they want support from the Sunni Arabs, from Turkey, from Jordan, from Saudi Arabia and from the UAE. Now both Saudi and the UAE have the weaponry, they have the most sophisticated air forces. But more than that, more than logistics, more than weaponry, what the US wants is political cover. When you have a country, a Sunni country the size of Turkey, you have Saudi Arabia, the custodian of the two holiest places in Islam, when you have them part of the coalition against this so-called caliphate, then it starts to look not like a second invasion, but like an attack on a small mutant ideology.
No boots on the ground, say the Western coalition partners. So who is going to be on the ground fighting ISIS?
Well, look at how crowded it is already. Here are the Iranians, already very involved in Iraq. Here are the Syrians, the Assad regime, already very heavily involved. And in the middle of it all, you have the Peshmergas, the Kurds in the north. You have the Shia, you have the FSA. You have all of these groups that have been fighting ISIS. It is a very crowded region. You don't need any more boots on the ground. What you need is political cover.
The UAE, in what I believe was its most detailed statement to date, said that it will back this coalition. It also went on to say that ISIS is not the only threat to this region at present. Explain.
Well, let's bring in Egypt. Egypt has been the most important bone of contention between the various states of the GCC. And the GCC wants it to be stable. It does not want it to be ruled by political Islam.
There are two superpowers in this region, that being Iran and Saudi Arabia. For decades, they have been foes. Is there a sense of rapprochement at present, and if so, why?
I think the answer actually is no. The problems between Iran and Saudi go far deeper than just ISIS. Let's just take a look at this. If you have the Iranians supporting the Houthi rebels in the north of Yemen, right on the border with Saudi Arabia. You have them supporting Bashar al-Assad in Syria, destabilizing Jordan and putting millions of refugees in Jordan, again, right on the border. You have them in Iraq, again, right on their borders. The danger that Saudi sees in Iran goes far beyond what is happening in ISIS. This particular problem might make them talk. It won't make them best friends.